Imagine being stranded in one of the coldest, most remote places on Earth with no hope of rescue in sight. It's 1915 and Sir Ernest Shackleton's ambitious expedition to cross Antarctica has gone perilously awry. Their ship, the Endurance, trapped and eventually crushed by the ice of the Weddell Sea, leaves 28 men facing the brutal Antarctic elements with little more than their wits and will to survive. Today, we're going to talk about a story of remarkable bravery, survival, and determination. The story of the Endurance and Sir Ernest Shackleton's Imperial Trans-Antarctic Expedition. So sit back, relax, and let's journey back to 1914.
Here I come. Oh, here I come. Oh.
Endurance, a three-masted barkentine, carried Sir Ernest Shackleton and his crew of 27 on their ambitious journey to the Antarctic as part of the 1914 to 1917 Imperial Trans-Antarctic Expedition. Originally named Polaris, the ship was built at the Fremnes shipyard and launched in 1912 from Sandefjord, Norway. After a commissioner went bankrupt, the ship was sold for a bargain. Shackleton snapped it up in January 1914, marking its first expedition. However, just a year into their journey, in 1915, Endurance became trapped in pack ice and ultimately sank in the Weddell Sea off Antarctica on November 21st. Miraculously, all the crew members survived. They managed a daring escape using the ship's lifeboats to reach Elephant Island. From there, Shackleton, along with the ship's captain, Frank Worsley, and 4 others, made a desperate voyage to get help. In an incredible turn of events, the wreck of Endurance was found on March 5, 2022, nearly 107 years after it sank.
We found it. With a few days left to go, we found it on the seabed. We'd started to give up hope, but there it was. And since then, we've been pretty happy, I've got to say.
It was discovered by a team called Endurance 22 and lies about 3,008 meters deep in the ocean. The ship is remarkably well preserved, a frozen moment in time, now protected as a historic site under the Antarctic Treaty System. Design and construction. Endurance, designed by Ole Andrud Larsen and built in Sandefjord, Norway, was quite the exceptional ship. Launched on December 17, 1912, and originally named Polaris, she was quite a sturdy vessel meant to handle the icy conditions of the Arctic. Crafted under the watchful eye of master builder Christian Jacobsen, Endurance was more than just strong. Her hull was made of thick planks of oak and fir, reinforced with green heartwood, particularly at the bow, which was designed to take on ice directly. She was 144 feet long and equipped with luxury features like electric lighting, a dining saloon, and even a small bathroom. Quite impressive for a ship of her time. With 3 masts and a powerful steam engine, Endurance could sail at speeds up to 10.2 knots. Although not designed to be lifted by ice like some other polar ships, she was built to withstand extreme pressures, a testament to her robust construction. Shackleton purchase. Originally built for Adrian de Gerlache and Lars Christensen, Polaris faced a shaky start due to financial troubles. Gerlache dropped out, leaving Christensen struggling to sell the ship. It was tricky because her design was perfect for icy adventures, but not so practical for whaling or as a luxury yacht. Eventually, in January 1914, Ernest Shackleton bought her for £14,000. Despite the financial hit, Christensen was just happy to support Shackleton's exploratory ambitions. Shackleton renamed the ship Endurance, echoing his family motto, "By Endurance we conquer." After buying Endurance, Shackleton brought her to London to gear up for the Antarctic. The ship got a makeover and was refitted for the expedition. She even got 3 sturdy boats tailored for icy waters. Just as World War I was kicking off in Europe, Endurance was setting off from Plymouth on her fateful journey. Shackleton had famously advertised for crew with a promise of low pay, harsh conditions, and uncertain survival, but the potential for great honor. Despite the risks, Endurance was insured, a rare move for ships heading into icy waters, showing the confidence in her sturdy build. Voyage. Endurance set off from Plymouth on August 8, 1914, heading to Buenos Aires, Argentina. While Shackleton stayed back in Britain to wrap up some last-minute details, the ship began her first real ocean voyage. Some crew members thought her hull was too rounded for the ocean, but she made it to Buenos Aires just fine. Shackleton joined the ship there, and on October 26th, they set off again, this time to South Georgia, a whaling station. After a brief stop, they continued south towards the Weddell Sea on December 5th. Just 2 days out from South Georgia, Endurance hit the polar pack ice. Progress was slow. The ship could barely manage 30 miles a day. By mid-January 1915, they were close to their destination, Vachel Bay, but then a gale hit, trapping them in heavy ice. They found temporary shelter behind a large iceberg, waiting for the storm to pass. When the gale finally let up, they tried to move forward, but soon found themselves stuck in a thick, soft type of ice called brash ice. The gale picked up again, driving the ship further into the ice until they were completely stuck. For days, they waited for a shift in the wind to free them, but despite some promising cracks in the ice, it never reached the ship. By February 14th, an opening appeared in the ice, creating a small pool of water around Endurance. The crew worked tirelessly, cutting through the ice to create a path for the ship. Despite their efforts and the use of the ship's engine to try to break free, they couldn't gain enough speed to push through. With the ice refreezing and the risk of damaging the ship, Shackleton had to make the tough call to stop and save their resources. Drift. After trying hard to break free, the crew of the Endurance turned off the ship's boilers and let it drift with the ice. As Antarctic summer ended, the ship functioned more like a stationary base, unable to reach their original goal because of the tough ice conditions. Over time, the ship and the ice it was stuck in moved westward, covering a lot of distance. On July 14, 1915, a strong gale hit, breaking the ice into smaller pieces that moved independently. This helped clear some ice to the north, but the Endurance stayed trapped. On August 1st, a wave of pressure lifted and tilted the ship, but she landed back in water surrounded by ice again. Despite more pressures and the bending and groaning of the ship under the strain, it remarkably held up. The ship's resilience was incredible, withstanding the crushing forces of the ice around it. Final destruction. By October, the ice around Endurance began to show signs of breaking up as temperatures rose slightly. On October 14th, the ice broke enough to let the ship float in open water for the first time in 9 months. 2 days later, Shackleton tried to get the ship moving. They had to melt ice for fresh water to get the boilers working, but they discovered a leak. Despite their efforts, they couldn't move the ship with just one boiler working and ended up stuck again. On October 18th, the ice closed in quickly, tilting the Endurance to one side. It stayed tilted for 4 hours before the ice shifted and let the ship settle back. The rest of October was quieter, with the crew managing to test the engines briefly. However, on October 24th, pressure from the ice severely damaged the ship. Water began flooding in, and despite their best efforts to pump it out, it kept rising. After a grueling 28 hours trying to manage the flooding, Shackleton ordered everyone to move the essential supplies onto the ice. The ship was too damaged to stay on board any longer. By October 27th, with the situation worsening and the ship badly crushed by the ice, Shackleton made the tough call to abandon ship. Over the next few days, they salvaged what they could from the sinking Endurance. By November, the ship was completely submerged under the ice. They managed to retrieve some supplies by cutting into the decks. Finally, on November 21st, another shift in the ice lifted the wreck before letting it sink for good. The Endurance was gone, leaving nothing behind on the surface. Aftermath. After camping on the ice, the crew used the Endurance's boats to reach Elephant Island in April 1916. Knowing the island was remote, Shackleton and 5 others sailed to South Georgia on April 24th to get help. It took several tries with different boats, but finally the Chilean government helped with a ship called Yelcho. They rescued the remaining 22 crew members from Elephant Island on August 30th, 1916, 128 days after Shackleton had left. They made sure to grab all expedition records and photos quickly before the ice could trap them again. Wreck. Back in 1998, some wreckage found on Elephant Island turned out to be from an older shipwreck, not the Endurance. Over the years, various attempts were made to find the Endurance's wreck. By 2018, an expedition tried to find it with underwater robots, but they lost a robot to the ice. Experts believe the wreck is well preserved at the bottom of the ocean because of cold currents that keep wood-eating creatures away. In 2021, a new search called Endurance 22 was announced, planned for early 2022, using advanced technology to scan the wreck in 3D without disturbing it. Recently, experts used old navigational data to better pinpoint where the Endurance might lie, refining the search area. This led to a significant discovery in 2022, improving our understanding of exactly where the ship sank back in 1915. Discovery. On March 5, 2022, the Endurance 22 team found the wreck of the famous ship Endurance deep in the Weddell Sea. It lay at a depth of about 9,869 feet. Though initially thought to be a bit off, the wreck was actually found just under 6.2 miles from where it was expected, proving the original navigator's skills were pretty spot on. The conditions under the sea allowed for a great discovery. The icy waters, usually thick with sea ice, were at their lowest levels in decades, making the exploration possible. The team used a South African research vessel for their search and found the Endurance remarkably well preserved. They took a lot of photos and even did some 3D scans, showing the ship's name still clearly visible on the stern. They didn't take anything from the site, respecting its status as a protected historic site under international agreements. The whole adventure was shared worldwide thanks to an educational partner, Reach the World, which provided live streams and educational materials, allowing students everywhere to be part of this exciting historical discovery. Endurance's final voyage included 28 men, led by Sir Ernest Shackleton, Mrs. Chippy the cat, and 69 sled dogs, with puppies born en route. After the ship was trapped and destroyed by ice, Shackleton made the tough decision to euthanize Mrs. Chippy and some younger dogs. The saga of the Endurance is more than just a tale of survival. It's a story about pushing the limits of human courage, leadership, and perseverance against the odds. What do you think about Shackleton's incredible journey? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stories from history and exploration. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next adventure.